What's up, everyone? Big markets, think simple. By now, everyone knows the AI trade. NVIDIA GPUs, Samsung and SK Hynix memory, turn on YouTube, and that's basically all you hear. But there's a very different conversation happening inside the semiconductor industry right now. After the GPU, the next bottleneck is the CPU. Just a year ago, people were calling CPUs irrelevant. CPUs are just dead weight in the AI era. Total afterthought. But here in 2026, the script has completely flipped. Intel and AMD CPUs are already facing supply shortages. So how did this happen so fast? And do you know which companies are actually making money from this? Intel, the giant that fell and is fighting its way back up, AMD, the underdog that's been quietly closing the gap, and ARM operating in the background while controlling chip blueprints across the entire world. Why is the CPU battle the next big war after the GPU wars? The hidden stories behind these three companies shaking up the 2026 semiconductor landscape. Let's get into it right now. This video is not investment advice. It's for educational, entertainment, informational purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor. Please do your own research before making any investment decisions. Any investment decisions are your own responsibility. So why did CPUs suddenly become this important? Here's the bottom line. AI has moved past simply answering questions and into an era of AI agents, systems that think and act on their own. Think of a GPU as an insanely fast head chef, handling thousands of orders simultaneously, blazing through complex calculations at ridiculous speed. When AI generates text, images, or code, the GPU is running the show. But that head chef still needs someone managing the whole kitchen. What to make, where to get the ingredients, where does it go when it's done? That's the CPU. When AI first came out, the CPU barely had a job. Ask ChatGPT to fix an email, and the CPU was basically just a messenger. Pass the question to the GPU, bring back the answer. That was it. But today's AI agents are on a completely different level. Order me a meal tip for tonight, and the AI browses the web, compares prices, checks your card info, and fills in your delivery address itself. That whole act of planning, coordinating multiple tasks, managing the workflow, that's where the CPU becomes essential. GPUs are great at heavy computation, but calling external apps, moving data, managing task order, connecting different systems, that's the CPU's job. Intel's own executive said something that turned heads. Old AI servers ran fine with 1 CPU per 8 GPUs. Now it's trending toward nearly 1-to-1. More GPUs means you need more CPUs to feed and coordinate them. That's why the big tech companies are paying attention to Intel and AMD server CPUs again. And this isn't a trend. The smarter AI gets and the more it does on its own, CPU workloads structurally grow with it. Server CPU lead times have already stretched from 8 weeks to 12 weeks, and prices are up over 15%. That's what it looks like when demand outruns supply. So who's cashing in? Three companies, Intel, AMD, and ARM. But the way each one makes money is completely different. First, Intel. Intel is a fallen giant in the middle of getting back up. Say Intel, and most people picture that Intel Inside sticker on their old computer. And yeah, once upon a time, the undisputed king of CPUs. Their model is simple. Design CPUs, manufacture them in-house, sell them. And lately, they've added a foundry business, manufacturing chips for other companies too. But the last few years were rough. The numbers say it all. Revenue was $79 billion in 2021. By 2025, it dropped to $52.9 billion, 1/3 gone in 4 years. Operating income went from a $22 billion profit in 2021 to consecutive years of losses. This is not a fully recovered company. But Q1 2026 showed a turning point. Revenue of $13.6 billion, up 7% year over year. More importantly, their data center and AI segment jumped 22% year over year. Intel's management said this: data center demand surged so fast we couldn't keep up with supply. In plain English, more orders than they can fill. Intel's advantage is clear. The vast majority of enterprise data centers worldwide already run on Intel CPUs. Existing software, security systems, and databases are all built around Intel architecture. So for most companies, upgrading within the Intel ecosystem is far easier than starting from scratch. That's Intel's moat. But the risk is real. It's the foundry business. Intel wants to be America's TSMC. Big dream. And right now, that business is burning cash, over $10 billion in operating losses in 2025 alone. Bottom line on Intel, the server CPU recovery is real and positive, but when the foundry starts making money is the biggest variable. Second, AMD. AMD is the company that quietly crept up on everyone. 10 years ago, AMD was an afterthought. Intel for performance, AMD if you're on a budget, was just common knowledge. AMD was the value brand you grabbed when Intel felt too expensive. Today, over 30% of the server CPU market. In 2017, Intel owned virtually all of it. AMD clawed that back in under 8 years. And not by being cheap. They earned genuine recognition for high-performance server chips. The numbers prove it. 2025 revenue, $34.6 billion, up 34% year over year. Q1 2026 revenue, $10.3 billion, well above analyst expectations. Data center revenue alone, $5.8 billion, up 57% year over year. Of the three companies, AMD is where AI server demand shows up most directly and fastest in the financials. CEO Lisa Su said it straight. AI inferencing and agentic AI are driving strong demand for high-performance CPUs and accelerators. Next quarter guidance is $11.2 billion, up 46% year over year. AMD's edge is the bundle strategy. Sell GPUs, CPUs, and open-source software together, offering companies that find NVIDIA too expensive a full alternative in one package. Microsoft, Oracle, and Meta are all actively adopting AMD chips. The risks? NVIDIA's CUDA ecosystem is still a fortress on the AI GPU side, and AMD doesn't own any fabs. They design the chips, TSMC manufactures them. Great recipe, but someone else runs the kitchen. If they can't lock in enough TSMC capacity, growth gets capped no matter how strong demand is. Third, ARM, the company that makes money without manufacturing a single chip. ARM might be unfamiliar to some of you, but the smartphone in your hand right now, iPhone, Android, doesn't matter, the chip inside is built on ARM's blueprint. Their business model is unique. ARM doesn't make chips. They license CPU designs, and every time a chip is sold using their architecture, they collect a royalty. Like a songwriter, write the music once, collect royalties every time someone performs it anywhere in the world. Compared to Intel and AMD, the revenue is smaller, but the real weapon is the growth trajectory. The number to focus on is ARM's data center royalty revenue, up over 100% year over year. Honestly, data center is still small a slice of total revenue. Smartphones still account for close to half right now. But ARM CEO Rene Haas made this declaration. Within 2 to 3 years, data center will overtake smartphones as our biggest revenue source. Why does that matter? Because NVIDIA's AI chips, Google's custom chips, Amazon's AWS chips, Microsoft's chips, they're all built on ARM's architecture. Every AI chip these companies ship means more ARM royalties automatically. The harder they compete against each other, the more ARM quietly wins. And ARM is pushing further, moving beyond just licensing designs toward delivering complete AI data center CPU platforms, stepping up from blueprint provider to full platform company. The risks? Because of how royalties work, ARM only captures a slice of each chip's value, so revenue growth won't be as explosive as Intel or AMD. RISC-V, the open-source competitor architecture, is gaining ground. And as ARM builds out its own CPU platform, existing customers may start to worry ARM is moving into their space. So one line on each. Intel, a damaged giant rising again as an AI CPU play. If the foundry turns around, it's a real comeback story. AMD, of the three, AI demand hits the financials here the fastest. The key questions are NVIDIA's ecosystem and TSMC supply. ARM, structured so that everyone else's success makes ARM richer. The day data center passes smartphones, you're looking at a completely different company. But all three companies share the same underlying risks. First, big tech going independent. The orders driving Intel, AMD, and ARM right now are coming from Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. But these companies aren't going to stay dependent on anyone. They're going all in on building their own custom chips. Google's TPUs, Amazon's Graviton, designed specifically for their own workloads. If the hyperscalers fully become their own chip suppliers, Intel and AMD's biggest customers become their biggest competitors. ARM is less directly exposed since those custom chips still use ARM architecture. But as big tech builds design capability, they'll naturally look to reduce ARM dependency too. Second, the oversupply cycle. Right now, big tech is pouring money into AI data centers. GPUs, memory, power, cooling, networking, CPUs, everything is scarce. But can this pace last forever? If at some point the hyperscalers decide AI services aren't generating the margins we expected, data center investment slows fast, and CPU demand forecasts get cut right along with it. There's an old rule in semiconductors. If it's sold out today, it'll be oversupplied in a few years. Right now, CPUs have 8 to 12-week lead times and prices are up 15%. That's not permanent. All right, let's bring it home. As AI evolves from answering questions to taking real-world actions as agents, the CPU's role inside data centers is growing structurally, not as a one-time bump, but as a durable, long-term trend. Intel, AMD, and ARM are each riding that wave in their own way, and this shift has the potential to reshape the entire semiconductor landscape, the same way the GPU wars did. Just remember one thing: the smarter AI gets, the more important the components quietly working in the background become. GPUs and HBM memory had their moment in the spotlight. Now the CPU is walking onto the stage. If this video helped you connect the dots, hit that like button and subscribe. We'll see you next time.